What if you woke up tomorrow and there were two suns in the sky? Well, it sounds like something from a science fiction film, doesn't it? One morning, you look out of your window and a second, smaller star is glowing where Jupiter used to be. The familiar patterns of our night sky would be broken forever. The change would be beautiful at first. A new bright point of light, like a diamond pinned against the velvet black of space. But this sudden, impossible event would not just be a pretty sight. It would be the beginning of the end for our world as we know it. This is the story of what would happen if Jupiter, the king of planets, suddenly decided it wanted to be a star. The news would spread faster than the light from this new star. At first, it would be a spectacle. On social media, videos would go viral showing the extra light in the pre-dawn sky. News channels would be filled with confused astronomers and excited reporters. People would gather on rooftops and in parks, their phones pointed upwards, capturing the impossible. For a few hours, it would be a global celebration, a moment of shared wonder. Humanity, for a brief time, would be united in awe, staring at the sky and asking the same question: what is happening? The initial shock would give way to unease. Scientists would be scrambling, their models and predictions pull us in disarray. How could this happen? What does it mean for us? The second light is not just a distant firework. It is a fundamental change to the structure of our solar system. Quick break, please like, subscribe and comment to support this video. The delicate balance that keeps Earth in its life-sustaining orbit is suddenly threatened. The heat, the light, the gravity would ripple outwards, a stone thrown into a calm pond of space. Our small blue world sits in the path of those ripples, unprepared for the cosmic storm about to hit. This new star, which we might call Lucifer or light bringer, would begin its reign quietly. But its influence would be immediate and profound. The night would no longer be truly dark. A permanent, eerie twilight would settle over the planet. The stars we have navigated by for millennia would be washed out, matty faint light drowned by the glow from our new stellar neighbour. The natural cycles of animals, plants, and even our own bodies would be thrown into chaos. So, could this actually happen? Could Jupiter, our solar system's gentle giant, truly ignite and become a star? The short answer is, quite simply, no. The science behind what makes a star is very specific, and Jupiter just doesn't have what it takes. A star is essentially a giant, continuous nuclear explosion. It is born when a massive cloud of gas and dust collapses under its own gravity. As it gets denser and hotter, the pressure at its core becomes so immense that it triggers nuclear fusion. Hydrogen atoms fuse into helium, releasing massive energy as light and heat. Our sun does this every second. To kickstart this process, you need an enormous amount of mass. Think of it like trying to start a fire with just one tiny twig. It's not going to work. You need a big pile of wood. Jupiter is a giant compared to Earth, but in the grand scheme of the cosmos, it's just a twig. To become even the smallest, dimmest type of star, a red dwarf, Jupiter would need to be at least 80 times more massive than it is now. It simply does not have enough material to create the crushing pressure and intense heat required for nuclear fusion to begin. It is a gas giant, yes, but it is destined to remain a planet, not a star. If you enjoy thinking about these cosmic what-ifs, please do like this video and subscribe for more. Your comments also help us decide what to explore next. Let's imagine for a moment that we could magically make it happen. What if some advanced, unknown force decided to dump 79 extra Jupiters worth of hydrogen into its atmosphere? In this hypothetical scenario, the planet's core would finally reach the critical temperature and pressure. The gas giant would ignite. It wouldn't be a violent Hollywood-style explosion. Instead, it would be a slow, majestic awakening. The planet would begin to glow. First a dull, deep red, before slowly brightening over hours and days. A new star, a red dwarf, would be born in our solar system. A red dwarf is very different from our Sun. It is much smaller, cooler, and dimmer. Its light would be a deep orange or red, not the bright white-yellow we are used to. Even though it would be a dwarf star, its presence would be overwhelming. From Earth, it would appear much smaller than the Sun, of course, but it would be far brighter than a full moon. In fact, it would be bright enough to read a book by, even in the middle of the night. This new, constant source of light and energy would be the single greatest change to our environment in all of human history, and its effects would be felt almost immediately, starting a chain reaction that would change our planet forever. With a second star in our celestial neighbourhood, the old rules of planetary motion would be thrown out the window. Our solar system has been a one-star system for over 4 billion years. Every planet, asteroid, comet follows a predictable path, locked in a gravitational dance with our Sun. The introduction of a second massive object, like an ignited Jupiter, would disrupt this dance completely. It's like adding a second heavy ball to a spinning mobile. Everything would start to wobble and sway unpredictably. The orbits of the other planets, especially those in the inner solar system like Mars, Earth, Venus, would become unstable. The first and most immediate effect would be on the asteroid belt, located between Mars and Jupiter. This region is filled with millions of rocks, some as big as small countries. Jupiter's immense gravity currently acts as a cosmic shepherd, keeping most of these asteroids corralled in a stable orbit. But with Jupiter now a star, its gravitational influence would change. It would start to fling these asteroids around like a child scattering toys. Many would be thrown out of the solar system entirely, but many others would be sent careening inwards towards the Sun, and Earth would be directly in the firing line. Our planet would be subjected to a constant bombardment of meteors, turning our sky into a deadly shooting gallery. Beyond the threat of impacts, the new gravitational pull would begin to warp Earth's own orbit. Our path around the Sun is currently a near-perfect circle, which gives us our stable seasons and climate. But with Jupiter's new star-like gravity tugging at us, our orbit would become more elliptical or oval-shaped. This would lead to extreme temperature swings. Summers would become scorchingly hot. Winters would plunge into deep, deadly freezes. The combined light and radiation from two suns would also be a major problem. Our planet is protected from the sun's harmful radiation by its magnetic field and atmosphere. But this shield is designed for one star, not two. The constant stream of charged particles from our new red dwarf, combined with our own sun's solar wind, would overwhelm our planet's defences. Satellites would be the first to go, their electronics fried by the intense radiation. This would mean no more GPS, no more global communication, no more satellite television. We would be technologically blind, just as the real crisis was beginning to unfold. The changes would not be confined to space. Here on Earth, the gravitational pull of our new star would make its presence felt in the oceans. Tides are caused by the gravitational pull of the Moon and, to a lesser extent, the Sun. An ignited Jupiter, even from its great distance, would exert a new and powerful gravitational force. Our tides would become chaotic and extreme. London, New York, Tokyo, high tides would be devastatingly high, swamping low-lying areas. Day 1, tidal surge, 28 meters, global. Low tides would retreat unnaturally far, exposing the sea floor. The rhythm of the oceans would be broken. This new gravitational force would not just pull on our water, it would pull on the planet itself. The solid rock beneath our feet would be subjected to new stresses. This is known as tidal flexing. Just as the Moon's gravity flexes Earth's crust by a few centimeters each day, the pull from our new star would add another, stronger pull. Increased stress on tectonic plates could trigger a dramatic rise in geological activity. Earthquakes would become more frequent and more powerful. Dormant volcanoes could roar back to life, spewing ash and gas into our already struggling atmosphere. The ground itself would become unstable, a ticking time bomb beneath our feet. Let's imagine the human experience on day 1. You are in a city, perhaps Manchester. You wake up before dawn to a deep red light filtering through your curtains. Outside, the world is bathed in an unfamiliar crimson glow. Streetlights hum, weak and yellow against the sky. People gather on the streets, faces turned up, phones raised, a buzz of excitement and confusion. News feeds show impossible telescope images. Jupiter is no longer a planet, it's a sun. Morning light shifts from red to washed-out orange. 2 sources of light, 2 sets of shadows. By midday, the heat is noticeable. Air feels heavy, warmer than it should. Authorities warn, stay indoors, limit sun exposure. Curiosity pulls people outside anyway. The internet explodes with speculation, fear, bad jokes. For a few hours, life limps on. People go to work, shops stay open, but no one focuses. Conversations revolve around the new star. Then the first real signs of trouble. GPS fails, phones lose signal, flights grounded. Hospitals monitor failing equipment. Power stations strain under new radiation. The new light turns from beautiful to threatening. Evening. No sunset, no twilight, no night. The sun sets, but the sky stays bright red. Stars vanish. The moon becomes a pale ghost. The loss of night lands like a blow, a profound psychological shock. The planet feels unfamiliar, a bright stage. Sleep will not come easily tonight, or ever again. In the weeks and months that follow, life on Earth would become a desperate struggle for survival. The concept of a 24-hour day would be meaningless. With no night to cool the planet, global temperatures would spiral upwards. The equatorial regions would become uninhabitable first. Temperatures would regularly exceed 60 degrees Celsius, turning vast swathes of the planet into a furnace. Ecosystems would collapse. Forests would dry out, burst into flames, creating continent-sized wildfires, choking the sky with smoke. Rivers would evaporate. Lakes would shrink to dusty salt flats. Use marketing image. Life in these regions would be extinguished. Agriculture would fail on a global scale. Crops are finely tuned to the rhythm of day and night, and the predictable cycle of the seasons. The constant light and extreme heat would destroy them. Fields of wheat would wither and die. Rice paddies would turn to dust. The global food chain would be broken at its most fundamental level. Famine would sweep across the planet. Supermarkets would be stripped bare within days. Governments would try to ration supplies, but it would be a losing battle. The struggle for food would become the primary driver of human conflict, pitting neighbor against neighbor, nation against nation. The relentless daylight would have a profound and devastating effect on human psychology. Our bodies are governed by circadian rhythms, an internal clock that is synchronized with the cycle of light and dark. Without the night, this rhythm would be shattered. Chronic sleep deprivation would become the norm. Paranoia, hallucinations, a breakdown in cognitive function. Anxiety would become a global epidemic. Depression would become a global epidemic. People would live in a state of constant wired exhaustion. Power grids, already straining under the need for constant air conditioning, would begin to fail. The heat would cause transformers to explode, power lines to sag and snap. Rolling blackouts would become permanent power cuts. Without electricity, modern civilization would grind to a halt. No running water, no refrigeration, no communication. Cities would become concrete ovens, giant death traps for those unable to leave. The intricate, interconnected systems that support our way of life would fall apart one by one under the silent, relentless pressure of the endless day. With the equatorial zones becoming uninhabitable, temperate zones becoming uninhabitable, humanity's only hope for survival would be to move. A great migration would begin, the largest in human history. Billions of people would be forced to abandon their homes and travel towards the planet's poles. The Arctic Circle, once considered desolate and inhospitable, the Antarctic Circle would become the last refuge. These regions, now warmed by the two suns, would offer a climate that was, for a time, survivable. This journey would be a brutal test of endurance. There would be no organized convoys, no government assistance. It would be a chaotic, desperate scramble for survival. People would travel on foot, in cars, on anything that could move, carrying what little they could. The roads would be clogged with millions of refugees, all heading in the same direction. Borders would become meaningless. The journey would be fraught with danger, extreme weather, and the scarcity of food and water. Many would not make it. It would be a great filter, a tragic process of natural selection on a planetary scale. The arrival at the poles would not be an end to the struggle. These regions are not designed to support billions of people. There is no infrastructure, no housing, no agriculture. The first arrivals would have to build a new civilization from scratch in one of the harshest environments on Earth. They would have to learn to grow food in the now thawing permafrost and build shelters that could withstand the still cold conditions and the new, unpredictable weather. New cities would rise, huddled in the valleys of Antarctica, along the coastlines of Greenland and in Siberia. These would be cities built on hope and desperation. Conflicts would inevitably arise. The last habitable lands on Earth would become the most valuable real estate in the solar system. The refugees, arriving in their millions, would clash with the few inhabitants who already lived there and with each other. The fight for resources, for a patch of farmable land, for access to fresh water, for a safe place to build a shelter, would be fierce. The Great Migration would save a fraction of humanity, but it would come at a terrible cost, written in the currency of conflict and loss. Generations would pass. The Earth would eventually settle into a new, violent equilibrium. The oceans would be higher, the coastlines redrawn. The equator would be a permanent belt of sterile, scorched desert. The weather would remain chaotic, with massive storms sweeping across the globe. But in the polar regions, life would go on. The descendants of the survivors would have adapted to this new, strange world. They would have no memory of the old Earth, of a world with a single sun and a dark night sky. Society would be completely different. It would be a culture born of necessity and survival. Technology would be simpler, more robust, focused on the essentials of life. Food, water, shelter. Perhaps they would harness the immense energy of the geothermal vents unlocked by the new geological activity. Or maybe they would perfect a new kind of agriculture, growing crops in vast underground caverns lit by artificial light. Their architecture would be designed to withstand the extreme weather, with buildings hunkered down low to the ground, built into the very ice and rock itself. Their myths and religions would be shaped by the sky. They would be a people of two suns. The old bright sun, the new red star Lucifer, would be their gods, their celestial calendar, the twin sources of all life and all destruction. The stories passed down from the time before would speak of a mythical darkness, a time when the sky was filled with tiny points of light called stars. To a child born in this new world, the idea of a truly dark night would be as fantastical as a dragon or a unicorn. They would be the children of the twilight, their entire culture and psychology shaped by the absence of night. The planet itself would be a very different place. With the collapse of most ecosystems, evolution would be sent down a new and unpredictable path. What kind of creatures would evolve to thrive in a world of constant light and heat? Perhaps plants would develop reflective metallic leaves to ward off the relentless radiation. Perhaps nocturnal animals would adapt to live in deep caves or in the newly expanded, dark depths of the ocean. Life is resilient. It would find a way to continue, but it would be a form of life that we, from our time, would barely recognize. The Earth would still be alive, but it would no longer be our Earth. Let's step back from the brink for a moment. This future, this world of fire and flood, is a fiction. Jupiter will not become a star. Our solar system is stable, but the exercise of imagining it forces us to confront a profound truth about our existence. We live on a tiny, fragile island of life in an ocean of cosmic indifference. The universe is not hostile, but it is not friendly either. It simply is. Its laws are ancient and powerful. We exist only because, by sheer chance, the conditions in our small corner of the galaxy are just right. We are the beneficiaries of a 4-billion-year-old lucky streak. Staring up at the night sky, we see a peaceful, unchanging vista. But that peace is an illusion. The universe is a place of incredible violence and transformation. Stars are born. Stars die. Galaxies collide. Black holes devour everything around them. Compared to these forces, our planet is a speck of dust, and our lives are a fleeting moment. We have built our civilizations, our cultures, and our lives on the assumption that the world of tomorrow will be much like the world of today. But the universe is under no obligation to respect our assumptions. The story of an ignited Jupiter is a reminder of how precarious our situation truly is. And yet, there is a strange beauty in this precarity. The fact that we are here at all, on this perfect planet, with its oceans, its mountains, its single life-giving sun, is a miracle. We are the products of an unbroken chain of life stretching back billions of years, on a world that has, against all odds, remained habitable. We are the universe made self-aware. We are the only known creatures in this vast cosmos who can look up at the stars and wonder about our place among them. That is a precious and extraordinary gift. It gives our fleeting lives a sense of meaning and purpose. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this imagined catastrophe is not one of fear, but one of perspective. When we are faced with the truly awesome power of the cosmos, our own problems, our conflicts, and our differences seem to shrink. The challenges we face on this planet, climate change, poverty, conflict, are serious, but they are problems we have the power to solve. Unlike a star being born in our backyard, these are challenges that are within our control. The story of a second sun forces us to look at our world, our only world, and appreciate just how lucky we are to have it. In the end, this is a story about light, the destructive light of a new, unwanted star, and the fragile, precious light of human consciousness. Faced with an existential threat, our fictional survivors did not give up. They adapted. They migrated. They rebuilt. They held on to that spark of life, even in the most impossible of circumstances. They looked up at their two suns and they endured. This resilience is perhaps the most human trait of all. We are a species of survivors, dreamers, and builders. And even in the face of cosmic annihilation, we would find a way to build a new dawn. The universe is vast and we are small, but we are also a part of it. The same atoms that make up the distant stars are the atoms that make up our bodies. We are, in a very real sense, stardust. And in our ability to understand the universe, to tell stories about it, and to imagine other realities, we give it a significance that it would not otherwise have. We are its storytellers. Our existence, however brief, gives the cosmos a witness. The story of Jupiter's fire is a dark one, but it illuminates a brilliant truth. Our world is a paradise. and it is the only one we have. The thought experiment shows us that the stability we take for granted is not a given. It is a gift. The steady beat of day and night, the reliable turn of the seasons, the silent, dark sky filled with stars. These are not just background details. They are the pillars that support our entire world, our biology, and our sanity. Losing them would mean losing ourselves. It's a sobering thought, but one that can also inspire a profound sense of gratitude for the simple, predictable beauty of the world we have right now, today. We live in the calm, and we should be thankful for it. The universe is full of what-ifs. Each one is a doorway to a different reality, a different way of seeing our own world. By stepping through these doorways, we can learn more about ourselves and our place in the grand cosmic story. The tale of a second sun is just one of many possibilities in an infinite universe of ideas. What other worlds, what other futures can we imagine? What other truths can we uncover by asking that one simple, powerful question? What if? You've been watching IfVerse. Subscribe for more mind-bending realities.